being like in your position, I'll go with good and bad. What is some of the highest of the highs and maybe the lowest of the lows? Because from a citizen's perspective, I don't think that there is enough respect at times given to the day-to-day activity that officer has to endure. So tell us, even from the top cop, what are really the challenges, but the highs and the lows of this job?
Well, the high is 4 officers last week went into a burning building and rescued a man that nearly died. And the high on that was that those officers that took that heroic act.
Wow.
You can't train that.
Yeah.
That's just they didn't come to work knowing that was going to happen. But they saw the risk. They went headlong into that burning house. It was actually captured on body-worn video, and I have not seen it, but a number of people who have tell me just it was a horrifying scene that those men and a woman went into and were able to overcome their fear to take action to protect and save a life. So that makes me very proud. I see acts of valor every day and acts of service every day. The dark moments was when we see the loss of life, when we see innocence snatched away from a community by senseless violence. This last weekend, we had just last night we had 2 separate homicides, and so those are and we had 20 people that were over the last 4 days. We had 20 shooting victims, and it was much of it related to gang violence, so those can be the dark moments of wondering, for every gain that we're making, how can we further lessen violence. Friday, I was at Vermont and Manchester, where we had a vigil for people lost to gun violence, and they were represented by shoes. And the assemblymen who gathered us there, we all had an opportunity to speak, but we, more importantly, had an opportunity to listen to the families of those victims. And as I said then, I'll say now, I wish those shoes were mountains, so that we could all see just the horrific costs of gun violence. And so those are those can be the dark moments. But all in all, I also know that in those dark moments that our men and women are standing tall, that they go out each night to be that difference and to stop that violence and to protect people. So on balance, I know that this is it's a safer city today than it has ever been. Yet we still have much work to do.
To advertising, and also we're a newspaper, so I definitely have to ask that with recruitment. And there has been some recent, we've seen that in our publications and also just throughout the demographic of the city. Do you plan on making sure that there's recruitment advertisement, or not even just, I should say, just per se for jobs, but to just make sure that the public knows what's going on with the department? Sometimes what I find is that there is too much of a separation at times on how of a comfortable people can feel to get hold of the department or even a response from the department. So number one, I guess the question is, do you plan on doing that, advertising and promoting, number one? And two, is there a program or something in place? And it's kind of going back on the question, we did touch on it earlier, but specifically with community engagement, that you plan on doing that with outreach and with the budget, because there is that part of your job that you do control.
So, our outreach, our engagement is through the not as much as today in the paper press as it is electronic and through social media.
Websites as well.
Yeah, websites and
we
so
have that.
so you do. In fact, I was looking at the Sentinel at your website on the way here.
Thank you.
And the use of social media, the use of Twitter, Instagram. Those are outreach tools. Those are communication tools that we're engaged in. But I also believe that the more effective engagement is person to person.
Okay.
Is just the ability to share a conversation, share some thoughts and ideas, and just demonstrate a receptiveness, an openness, a responsiveness that members of this organization, that we care. And now, as far as the advertising for our recruitment efforts, we had a recruitment expo this past weekend.
Okay.
Those expos are ongoing,
Okay.
and we have some limited funding. I think I was talking with Assistant Chief Villegas before I came down here today. I think the city has set aside money for the personnel department for advertising for police and fire, and for us we have a stipend as well. It's just under $100,000 that we have, and so I'll look to see how that money is being used and how many eyeballs we're getting. I think it's important though is as much as it may be a tool that actually gets applicants, I believe that papers such as yourself, our presence in the paper, is also significant, that we show a respect for the community and an engagement with the community and an awareness that it's not just that we want applicants to join this department, but we feel that we're part of this community and the community is part of us, and so that's a collective work.
And we appreciate that because I say that in my seat, it's to amplify the positive and also at times, unfortunately, the negative. So we're here to get out the message when it's positive and there's expos and good things going on. So that's what we're here to do. And at times, unfortunately, when things are happening like vigils, we have to share that too. But we do appreciate your help in that, and anything that we can do in the midst of that, we definitely would like to do that.
Very good.